All right, that was right in the microphone. Great. You have in front of you the workbook, the little worksheet here. I gave this to you because I want you to take it home. We're going to talk about all of this stuff, but I want you to listen. I don't want you to write it down. I want you to listen. Because what I'm about to share with you is a tremendous work in progress. You are not going to get done this week, this year, this month. It's not going to happen. It's going to take you months to develop this. And what you'll find is that when you're asked the question, what do you do for a living, you're never going to answer it the same 2 times in a row. You will be amazed at how brilliant your brain can be if you let it. The problem with the smartphone is it has been known, in fact, to make us stupid. And the more we rely on the phone, the less intelligent we become. And I'm going to challenge you. The more you memorize, the more you practice, the more you spend time at a stoplight going through a sample conversation of what do you do, the better you're going to be. And if you're like most people that says, I don't need to worry about this. I've got referral network. I go to the B&I group. I go to a network and I'm part of the chamber. You're also missing the biggest opportunity because you did see 500 people last week. But you really had no way to engage in a conversation with 495 of them. And I know many people who go to cocktail parties on purpose, making sure they are never asked, what do you do for a living? Because they are so ill-prepared on how to answer it. Now, I work in the most commoditized industry in the world, financial services. It's right up there with real estate. I mean, how do you differentiate yourself in a commoditized industry where you all look the same, your websites are the same, you dress the same, you talk the same, you drive the same car? What are you doing to become unique? Well, let me give you a little bit of background about how this became so prevalent for me and how it has changed my life. It was back in 2013 that I met Coach Burt over at Mimi's Cafe, sicker than a dog. I was on one side of the table not wanting to get too close. And at that time, he was putting together a group called the Millionaire Mindset. How to walk like a millionaire, talk like a millionaire, act like a millionaire, do the things that millionaires do. And I said, sure, I'd be glad to support you. Michael wrote a book called The Person of Interest. And I want to recite for you one paragraph in this book that has changed my life, because as I recite this paragraph, I want you to apply it to the people that you know, what you call your clients, prospective clients, or people that you would like to engage in the future. What good is it to have 200,000 Twitter followers when only 2 are going to read your bio? And nobody's going to buy a thing from you. I would rather have just 10 certifiable lunatic maniacs who hinge on every word I say than have 200,000 people that sort of get what it is that I do. What do? We go out and we try and fog a mirror. If you can fog a mirror, you're a potential client, and I'm going to beat you to death with all of the great things that I've accomplished. Shut up and listen. I'm smarter than you and I can prove it. And if you're going to stick around long enough, there's a chance that I might find a hot button. Oh my God. That's the worst way you can sell. It is the worst body language that you could possibly emit. And I will share this with you. Up to 85% of the conversation that you have with someone will be based on one thing: how you said it, not what you said. So Anna, when you started the first one, and it was very methodical, very regimented, and it's factual. And then when I said, well, wait a minute, forget that. What do? You got to smile, you lean forward, and you talked with me, not at me. And when we usually give an explanation of services, what do? We talk at somebody. And we talk at them because we want to see if you're excited at all. And if you are, I'm going to pounce on you like flies on dung. That is not the way to sell. Yet there are many people that do that. Many people will beat you up until they find a hot button, and then they're going to provide a service because they found out something you needed. The second thing that changed my life was being introduced in the year 2013 to Simon Sinek. And Simon Sinek had an 18-minute and 4-second video that I make mandatory for everybody who's going to join my group, that they have to listen to it. And if they listen to that video and I ask them, what did it mean to you? If they say, I don't know, they're not part of the group. That video changed my life. It got to the point where I wrote every single word he said down on a sheet of paper. And I want to share with you one conversation he had, that if you let this sink in, you will begin to realize how important your first impression is to somebody. Your job as a sales rep is not to find people who need to buy your product. Your job is to find people who believe what you believe. And if you find somebody who believes what you believe, there's no selling involved. Absolutely none. Yet we've been taught to sell. Why? Because the person who has the product wants us to be just like a certain robot and make sure we talk about all the features and benefits correctly so we can explain why somebody should engage with our services. Wrong. You should lead with why you do what you do. You can explain how you do it different than anybody else, what makes it unique, your value proposition. Because what you do is irrelevant, and I hate to break this to you. When somebody asks you, what do you do, they don't care what it is that you do. They want to know why you do it. But see, nobody ever comes to you and says, hey, by the way, why are you a realtor? You won't find anyone that'll do that except a teacher. Because what the teacher's going to want to do is he's going to want you to dig into your knickers, and he wants to see, what are you passionate about? And your passion came out so wonderfully when I asked you, put the crap aside, what do you think you do? Now, for a minute, if you could imagine, I've got 40 people in the room that are all in the same business as me. I'm standing up at the front of the room. I have the person who I'm going to interrogate standing here facing all 40 people, and I'm here facing them. And I will ask, what do you do for a living? And out comes crap. And I go, well, how's that working for you? And they say it's never gotten them an appointment in their life. I said, but you said something that's kind of unique. Share with me why you said what you said here. What did you mean by that? Now remember, your client, potential customer, is not going to do this for you. But I will, because I want to try and make a point. Now, if you can imagine, they're very rigid. They end up with, I do this, 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 and this, and this. And then when I start to ask them a little bit more, they do what you did, Anna. They relax. They lean forward. They share. They smile. Pardon me. They engage. And I'll even go one step further. I said, you mentioned something you got to smile about. You're pretty excited about that. Tell me more. And they start to really get excited. And right in the middle, I go, stop. That's your EOS. See, all the other crap you were talking about, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. I want to know why you do what you do. The problem that I see in our industry, and in really every industry out there, is that very few people know why they took the job. And if you took the job because of money, I pity you. If you chase money, it is so evident. Every person you meet is a transaction. Every person you meet is a commission. And it reeks. It's called commission breath. And it's real easy to smell. But if you're truly out there trying to help people because you believe something, and then I'm going to gauge the reaction in what I believe. If you believe as I do, based on the way that you are responding to my conversation, I know I have someone who cares about why I do what I do. And then, as Michael Burt says, I become the buyer. I'm no longer selling real estate. I'm no longer selling marketing services. I am the buyer. I get to choose, based on your reaction, if you like what I do, and I can sense in your body language that you like what I do, I can continue the conversation at my discretion. See, you've been taught to do everything you can to continue the conversation with everybody that can fog a mirror. And every sales department is the same. Beat them up long enough, they'll submit. That's a horrible, horrible way to build a career. It's a great way to make a sale. It's called used car salesman. You don't like that pink car over there? Let's show you the blue one over here, because the blue, and this is a good shade of blue. You don't like blue? How about that black sedan in the back? And they're just going to beat you to death until they find something that you finally like. But can you imagine a used car salesman that sat down with somebody first and said, why are you buying a car? What are you going to use it for? How are you going to use it? How many miles? Really care before they even go out on the lot and show you what's going on? Who sells a car that way? Nobody. Nobody. Why? Because who's training them? It's the same idiots who would take that person out and show them the pink car, the blue car, the black sedan, and then wonder why you're not buying anything. Oh, he's not a buyer. Push him away. Let's go out and find somebody else. What if we started with what we believe? And if I can share with you why I believe what I believe, then I get to watch your reaction. And if you could care less, there is no car in the lot that you're going to like. I don't even have to go outside and show you the cars. We're done. Next. Simon said, people don't care what you do. They want to know why you do it. But what you do proves what you believe. The problem is we don't know what we believe. I go around the country teaching this strategy, and it amazes me how many successful people in the audience, when I ask them, why do you do this? They go, I don't know. A lot of money, I guess. I can name my own schedule. That's why you do this? So you could play golf 6 days a week? Could you imagine that on your business card? Come on in, I'm going to go play golf. Let me help you because I want to go play golf. See, we've got this all screwed up. When somebody asks you, what do you do for a living? Unfortunately, you're going to give them the what, and people don't care what they hear. We had one guy in our group who said, when he was asked, what do you do for a living? He said, you know what, that's a great question, but I'm more prepared to tell you why I do what I do rather than what I do. Now, even in that response, just that, you're sucked in. You're going to hear the rest of the story. Coach says it takes 26 positive touches to reverse a negative first impression. And I will argue the person that you've peed off isn't going to stick around long enough to be touched 26 times to have his opinion changed. You've got one opportunity to make an impact. One. So in 2013, I became a person of interest. In 2013, I started with, from that point on, why I do what I do. And my income from 2013 has quadrupled. And by the way, our industry hasn't gotten any easier. The government regulation hasn't gotten any easier. The products didn't get any better. I did. So you all are about to get a pay raise. It becomes effective the day you can be. And the more you can internalize, the more you can practice this, the more you understand what you're supposed to do, the more successful you're going to become. And it's not something I can monetarily reimburse you on. I mean, if you want to spend 2 hours a day on this, I promise you, you'll make a heck of a lot more money. But I can't put a dollar figure on it because everybody's definition of a dollar is different. When imagine a big circle, and the circle has 3 circles in it. The outer circle is the what, the inner circle is the how, and the middle, the bullseye, is the why. Every company goes out there and says, I have a brand new what. This is what we sell, and this is how we sell it. This is our value proposition. These are the features and the benefits, and this is what makes us unique. And then I'm going to explain why everybody in the world should be doing business with me. That is the exact opposite of how we should do this. We should start with why we do what we do, how we do it unique than anybody else in the business, our value proposition, because what we do is irrelevant. If I can get you to where you want to go with less risk, less money, and put you in a position where you're not filing a tax return in retirement, would you like to see how that's done? How long did that take? 4 seconds? My son's writing a book called Power Bombs, Power Phrases. They're just simple statements, questions that begin with the word if. Several years ago, he's in the same business as me. Excuse me. He's been doing this now for about 7 years. He said, Dad, I'm going to make $1 million a year on the word if. If I can put you in a position where you're not filing tax returns in retirement, would you like to see how that's done? Nope. How long did that take? Think about that. He called me one day and he said, Dad, I'm talking to a billionaire. I said, wonderful. Good job, Matt. How many times have you seen him? He said, 3. And I said, has he made you do backflips yet? Has he had you put a ball on your nose and jump around his office? He goes, what are you talking about, Dad? I said, Matt, he's never going to buy from you. He's polite. He's trying to appease you, but he'll never be a customer. But Dad, he's worth a lot of money. And I said, you're going to chase him, aren't you? See, today I'll tell somebody who's a billionaire, I'll say, you know what, you're good. You don't need a darn thing we offer, but you're not great. And the only difference between being good and being great is having someone like me understand how the tax code works so that you don't have to file a tax return. My only question to you, Johnny Warbucks, is do you want to be great? Nope. Now, how long did that take? That whole conversation from beginning to end, I shared with why I do what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. I gauged his reaction. He said, nope, I'm happy with status quo. Do you think I have anything to offer him? But he's worth a lot of money. Yeah, he is, but it's not going to get in your pocket. He doesn't see a problem. See, Coach has always said money follows people who can solve persons' problems. What are you solving? I'm helping them buy real estate. That's not a problem. There's a lot of problems with buying real estate. I hate banks. I despise banks. They are more intrusive than IRS. The questions they ask are more stupid than the Internal Revenue. But we have to do business with them because they hold the money. Not necessarily. If you understood how wealth works, you would never use a bank. But most people don't understand how wealth works. So my only question to you is if I could show you how wealth works and you could put more money in your pocket with less risk and retire without filing a tax return, would you like to see how that's done? No. Okay. Done. Done. Now, if you can imagine, if I asked that question to 1,000 people, 950 of them would say, yes, I want to know how that's done. See, I've got something to say when I meet someone. The problem is most people, when they meet someone, don't have any idea what to say. They're going to tell us what they do. So let's start off. I've numbered every page of this, and we're going to go back and forth here, so we're not going to go from beginning to end, because I want you to interact here. This is your meeting. It's not mine. I have an EOS. You guys don't. So this is your meeting. The more questions you can ask, the more issues that you can relate to that I could help you answer, let's do that here. But I want to share with you there's a difference between an elevator pitch and an EOS. An elevator pitch is designed so that if two people get on an elevator on the ground floor, both of you turn around and press floor 5. The door's closed. The person looks at you and says, what do you do for a living? You have approximately 19 seconds so that when the door's open, they're not running from you. They're simply asking, well, that's interesting. Can I have a card? So an elevator pitch creates interest. An explanation of services demands action. And I don't want to waste my breath and just say, hey, are you interested? And they say, yeah, call me in 6 months. I don't talk that way. I don't call somebody in 6 months. You call me in 6 months. I'm not changing careers. You still have a problem. If you want it fixed, you call me. You know, Coach and I kid each other. He has this 7-touch for prospecting. I'm going to jail if I touch you 7 times. I'll give you one opportunity to do business with me. I'm going to share with you why I do what I do, how I do it different than everybody else, and then I'm going to ask you, do you see a problem? Because I'm licensed by the federal government and the state to fix your problem. But if you don't see a problem, I have nothing to offer you. If you look at the law of diffusion of innovation, when you talk about the bell curve, the first 2.4% of the population are what's called early adopters. These are the people that will stand in line at Best Buy before the Apple II was announced. They could care less if it works, cracks, breaks, even lights up. They're going to own it first. And they sure as heck are not going to wait for a review for someone to write a story on how well it works or not. They're going to own it. Then the next 13.5% of the population is called early adopters. These people love the Apple II just as much, but they're not going to eat cold fish and sleep in a tent. They're going to wait for it to go on sale, let the crowd subside, walk in, pick it off the shelf, and take it home. So there's about 15.9% of the population that wants to be first. Those are the only people you're trying to meet. The 15.9% of the population that can make a decision. The other 85% of the people that are going to waste your time, positively waste your time. So the purpose of an explanation of services is not only to share people why you do what you do, but it's to identify the 85% of the population that was going to waste your life. And the sooner that I can find out that I'm dealing with somebody who does not believe what I believe, I succeeded. So the first thing you must realize is in this business, a no is better than a yes. A no is going to waste your time, and the more successful you become, the only thing you cannot control is time. And the more time you have wasted with someone who will never be a client is an hour, 2 hours, a day, or a month you could have spent with somebody who does believe what you believe. So the EOS is designed not only to be attractive to the 15.8, 15.9% of the population, but it's also designed to quickly identify the 85 you don't want to do business with. Nice people, I don't want to do business with them. Nice people who will not agree with what I believe. And I don't convince anymore. I don't chase anymore. I have become a person of interest. If you are not impressed with the words that come out of my mouth, please do not use me. Now, how many people would have that as their explanation of services? When you start making money, there's something very unique. And some people who don't understand you will believe it's cockiness. And I will argue it's confidence. And there's a fine line between being cocky and being confident. And I would probably be defined as one of the most confident people in the world. And people who don't like me, don't know me, don't understand at all what it is that I do will say, he is the cockiest in the world. That's fine. You're one of the 85 anyway. My job isn't to impress you. My job is to go out and find people who believe what I believe. So we need to work on what it is that we believe. So when we start talking about what it is that we do. I want you to write this down, and then you can go back and adjust this anytime in the future. But on line 37, I want you to share with me what you said this morning when I said, what do you do? I want you to write it down verbatim, as ugly as it was. Anna, I want your first. Okay? And here's why I'm saying this. Any good teacher, any good instructor has a starting point. That's why when you go out to athletics, the first thing they do is they take a stopwatch and they say, where are you right now? And then as the year progresses, they watch your progress. You need to know and identify where you came from, because not one person in this room got an appointment from me asking, what did you do for a living? It doesn't work that way. Nobody gets an appointment because it's the wrong conversation. So I'm going to give you a minute to write down everything you shared with me. What do you do for a living verbatim? Okay, as we discovered with Anna, the first conversation that we had, something as simple as, give me something that you are excited about at work. In other words, at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, you got your feet up on your desk, you're reflecting how the week went. What went well? And here's what's going to happen. When you start reflecting on that, if you're not journaling, I strongly encourage you to journal. If you're not reflecting on the successes that you've had, why are you in business? You know, business is ugly. And you don't have mommy and daddy at your office every day talking about, oh, sweetheart, that was good. Good job. You get a ribbon for participating. Doesn't work that way. So every Friday, you should be doing what I call a brain dump, a forensic analysis of how the week went. And you should be focusing on the things that did well. And if you could find out what those are, you'll find yourself smiling at your desk by yourself with nobody in the room. And the reason you're smiling is because it worked. And next time somebody asks you, what do you do? If you led with what you were good at, I call them passion points. We all have things in our job that we love to do. But arguably, we also have things in our job we hate to do. And normally what comes out is the language that's associated with your hate. Yeah, I'm a realtor. I know it sucks. Here's a worse one. I'm an attorney. I know it sucks. But there's things that everybody does that is well received in the marketplace. Even an attorney could talk about something good they did. And when you start leading with something you're passionate about, you begin to engage and talk with people. So I would like you to on page 2, line 48, I would like you to write down things that you are passionate about in your job. Putting a smile on somebody's face as you hand them the keys to the brand new house. I mean, if I was a realtor, that would be the almighty. But listen, I just bought real estate. I hated the transaction because of the interaction the bank demanded from me. And if you're a realtor dealing with a high-income person, if you can come to me saying, I'm going to take all that crap off your table, I'm going to do all the work you don't want to do that's going to waste your time, let me handle that. That's music to my ears, not the fact I'm going to get a key. I've had many keys in my life to pieces of real estate. That doesn't excite me. What excites me is getting the transaction as smooth as possible with as little as involvement as it takes. So when we start talking about passion points, it doesn't always lead to money. Let's think about that. If all of the things that you're excited about your job have to do with you getting paid handsomely, again, that's not transferable. I will argue you will be paid more than you ever thought you were worth if you can become a person of interest and explain why everybody in town who does what you do or uses you, or anyone like you, should be using you specifically. Think about this. How much fun would we all have if we had people at our doorstep knocking on the door at 7 o'clock in the morning wanting to do business with us? I understand you're the guy who, yeah, that's me. Hey, I understand you're the person that can put me that position. Yep, that's me. You want to go that way? All right, on line 100, I want you to do this. In the center of the page, from starting line 100 through line 106, I just want you to draw a line like this. On the left-hand side, I want you to write bad. On the right-hand side, I want you to write the word good. Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me. Remember your parents taught you that when the first bully you've ever met in your life is starting to hone his craft and become your biggest bully. Oh, son, oh, daughter, just let it roll off. He doesn't mean it. Well, in the business world, the wrong word can kill the deal before the deal even develops. So I am going to share with you words in my industry that are completely toxic. In other words, if I were to tell you what I do the first time we meet and I use any of these words I'm going to share with you, it automatically gives you an impression of what it is that I do that's negative. So I'm in the financial services business. So words that are toxic are life insurance, financial advisor, certified financial planner, masters of science in financial services, chartered life underwriter. Well, these are all wonderful degrees. Nobody cares. There's a time in your relationship where you should bring them into your office and show them every sheepskin you own. Good. But if you lead with that, if you think that's your value proposition, that the only thing you're going to do is because you're a CLU, I could Google right now, hey Siri, within 10 miles of me, list all the CLUs. See? Pretty good phone, huh? And if your only value proposition is you're a CLU, I just found 47 that do exactly what you do. I don't need you. When you look at the left side, these are all nouns. They're all whats. Because here's the right side, and by the way, everything on the right side could be also attributed to your industry. Help, share, teach, educate, advocate. I am an advocate for the average taxpayer in this country. I teach the difference between wealth and how it works and simple math. And then I show you by chasing rates of returns, you are probably helping one industry, the internal revenue, at your expense. And if I simply shared with you how wealth works, you wouldn't do what you're doing right now. And I'll just give you one example. In the state of Tennessee, if you have an IRA, 401k, 403b, 457, simple SEP, SARSEP pension, or profit sharing plan, when you go to retire, you will be paid fifth. There will be 4 people that will stand in line in front of you. They'll take your money first before you get a dime. And by the way, none of these 4 shared in your expenses, shared in your risk tolerance, shared in your asset allocation, or your losses. They only want the gains. And if you knew how wealth works, you wouldn't do what you're doing. My only question to you is, do you want to know how wealth works? Nope. Okay. How long did that take? If you do want to know how wealth works, wonderful. Call my office, we'll make an appointment. See, I argue that everything that you do that is positive, that can put a smile on your face, is a conversation you could transfer to the average Joe and show interest and have a potential appointment. I'm not saying you're going to sell everybody. That's not what an EOS does. An EOS is designed to create action. Yes or no. Buy, don't buy. That's it. But I would argue the more people you're in front of, the more chances you have of selling. Fair? I mean, if you're in front of a true person who is interested in what it is that you do, you have a better chance of selling something if they're in your office and not on a mailing list. I always joked I was trying to find a list of rich, stupid people. They don't exist. But everybody you talk to is a potential customer. Can you imagine sharing with somebody what you're truly passionate about and have it come across as mundane? How many times have you gone to a large transaction store where you're going to buy something of tremendous value, and the guy who's the salesman is about this flattering, hey, listen, you want to look over this one's purple, and it does everything you need it to do, and this one over here is light green, which one do you want? When I first wrote the book and Coach had his radio show, he asked me to give my EOS at the end of the show, and I started off with, I've never had more fun in my life than I'm having right now, and then I went on and explained my explanation of service, and we were done. He said, why'd you say that? I said, why did I say what? He says, why did you say you started off with never having as much fun? I said, have you ever made or bought a big transaction with somebody who didn't want to be there? The salesman could have cared less if you were here, and he just looked at you as a transaction. Is that any fun? And would you refer that person to anybody? If you're not excited about your job, why should anybody else be excited? Think about that for a minute. If you're going to say, yeah, I'm the world's smartest guy, I take brain tumors out through the ear canal and they never don't have any surgery, no anesthesia, I'm just brilliant. No. Up to 85% of communication will be received based on how you said it, not what you said. So if we have a mission statement, and I'll recite it for you in just a minute, and it's 7 sentences. 7. It's all Simon Sinek. It's 3 whys, 3 hows, and a what. But if I had all 40 people in my organization stand up here and recite the EOS, or their mission statement, you would have 40 different interpretations of what that mission statement is. It's the same words. See, in everything we do, we believe in challenging conventional wisdom with regard to traditional wealth accumulation strategies, but most important, wealth distribution models. As a group, we believe it simply doesn't work. And in everything we do, we believe in challenging the administration's right to confiscate your wealth, tax you every time you do anything successful. And in everything we do, we believe in creating for our clients proven distribution strategies in retirement where the distributions are off the radar screen of the IRS for income tax purposes. Now, how we do this is by using the tax code. It's 105 years old. How we do this is by using one of the most financially sound companies in the country, and how we do it is by using a product designed to generate cash flow in retirement where there are no 1099s and no recording of income of any kind. What is it? Does it matter? Does it matter? See, really it shouldn't, because if it does everything I said, call it soybeans. I'm buying acres. Everything you do must be led with passion. If you are not excited about your career, nobody else will be, and as sure as heck, not a prospective client. Because if this is your body language now, boy, can you imagine how exciting we're going to be as this transaction unfolds? I'd rather commit Harry-Carry. There are 3 parts to an explanation of services. Very simply, a statement of fact, an example of what you've done, and a question of inclusion. Pretty simple. So everybody, once we do have a passion and we lead with I believe, we're still not done. If you're watching me and I'm intrigued by your statement, you should follow up with an example of something you're passionate about. And here's something that you'll never be asked, but you should also be able to prove it. You'll never be asked, prove it. But here's, your body language is going to change when you start talking about a success that you've had that you could prove. Nobody's going to challenge you, but your body will own your comment. And then if I'm still intrigued, you're going to just simply tilt your head, bring your hand out, and say, if I could do the same thing for you, would you like to engage? Well, heck yes. Okay. Now, Simon talks about this law of diffusion of innovation, and he talks about the 330 million people in this country, and the first 16% of the population are the ones you want to talk to. So imagine this for just a moment. A single file line of 330 million people that are knocking on your door wanting to hear what it is that you do. 10 feet in front of you is a yellow line, 3 feet in front of you is a red line. You look at the person standing in the front, say, next. He walks up to the red line and you say, this is what I believe. This is why I believe what I believe. Do you believe as I do? No. Goodbye. Goodbye. Not, let me put a spreadsheet together. Let me send you some material. Goodbye. Next. This is what I believe. This is why I believe what I believe. Do you believe as I do? Yes, wonderful. Stand over here. We're going to have a great relationship for the rest of our lives. Next. Now, people, this sounds cold. This is cold. No, it isn't. It is efficiency. I'm trying to find people who believe what I believe, because if I do, there's no selling involved. If you have somebody who believes what you believe, they're going to put their arm around you and they're going to say, let's both of us go. Here's how the sales strategy is. I'm on one side of the desk talking at you, trying to convince you on this side of the desk to do business with me. And all you're doing is this. What if you got on that side of the desk, put your arm around a client and said, we're going, let's go. I'm going to help you. We, you and I, us are going to get there. Take I out of your vocabulary. You should never use I. I'm good. I'm top of the table. Who cares? We have achieved phenomenal success. I can help you achieve the same. Would you like to be successful? Yeah. I've helped people get keys to their homes with the biggest smiles on their face, I believe, more efficiently than any realtor in Middle Tennessee. Would you like to have that experience? And if so, I'm the person you need to deal with. If As my son says, Dad, by asking the word if, you're getting permission to engage. Rather than assuming you're going to have the privilege of engaging simply because you stood still in line at Starbucks, if you start off with, if I could show you how you don't have to file a tax return, would you like to see how that's done? And he goes, yes. You have now permission to engage in conversation. Deep conversations. How much do you make? How much do you save? Where is your money? How many children do you have? What's your marital status? Where do you live? When I was first developing the EOS, we had a young lady in our group, very attractive young lady who does not like to fly because she doesn't like to engage in conversation with the people sitting next to her. So we had our meeting in Atlanta and she was flying home. She lives in Arizona. And she was just about to put her headphones on, and sitting next to her is a captain, not of this flight, but he's obviously being ferried to the next location. And just before she put her headphones on, he says, what do you do for a living? And we had just got done going over this, and she said, and I'm quoting, I'm going to try this Tom Love crap. And she started with her explanation of service. Now, picture this, coach, not first class. Here's the young lady, here's the captain. Here's the person sitting in front of her. Here's the person sitting next to her. And here's there's 9 people in 3 square feet. Would you call this a private conversation? She had, before the plane took off, his income, how much money he had in his 401k plan, how many children he had, where he lived, and he was begging for an appointment. Isn't that what we would all like? I'm flying first class to a webinar down in, not a webinar, but a boot camp in Lauderdale. And the person sitting next to me says, so what do you do? And I looked at him and smiled and I said, I teach people just like you how to accumulate as much wealth as you want off the radar screen of the IRS for income tax purposes. And I went back to reading and he goes, what? I said, yeah, I know, isn't it fun? He goes, wow. Would you teach me? I said, no. He says, why not? And I said, well, because I'm an instructor. I have, my clients are actually other agents. He said, funny you should mention that. 7 people are flying with me. We're going down to Lauderdale. We're going to go fly fishing. 4 of them are financial advisors. Would you teach them? Hell no. No. He says, you're not going to teach me? And I said, no. And he says, well, let me tell you who you're talking to. Now, people, I'm not stupid. Today, I would probably engage in conversation. But I just wanted to prove that becoming a person of interest and having something to say was more important than a transaction. He said, let me tell you who you're talking to. I sell every federal penitentiary their security system. I looked at him and smiled. I said, you're worth a lot of money. He goes, I am. I said, this would be perfect for you. And you're not going to show me? No. Now, the guy followed me to baggage claim begging for a business card. Isn't that how you'd love to do business? Have 1 business card in your wallet, 1, and have 9 people following you begging to get it? How do you do that? Well, I sell life insurance, big policies. You want to sit here? Now, if I'm flying and I don't want anybody sitting next to me, that's what I'll say. I sell life insurance. You really sure you want to sit here? Hell no. They get up and move, and I get to lay down. So you're in control of this whole conversation. This is why I'm saying, as Coach has said, you become the buyer in the conversation. You're no longer selling anything. And what you have to get out of your mind is that when somebody asks you, what do you do for a living? You go into salesman mode. You do the exact opposite of what you should be doing. You should be going into proactive, I want to see if I like you mode. See, I'm to the point now where if I don't like your reaction even, I'm not going to even share the strategy. You need to pay taxes. We like people like you. Go ahead. I'm not. Next time you're in a conversation where somebody asks, what do you do? The first thing you should ask yourself is, do I want to go down the rabbit hole of being a salesman? Or do I want to own my conversation and become a person of interest? And if you want to become a person of interest, you will not do what you did when you got here this morning. Nobody will lead with that. You're going to lead with something you're truly passionate about. You're going to lead with something that you enjoy, that you could prove if asked. and something that when you share with people, you'll smile. And it's truly amazing. Everybody that I meet with, one-on-one, the first impression is not usually good, but by the time we're done, with me digging into your knickers as to why you said what you said, that is your beginning of an explanation of services. So the first part is a statement of fact, usually begun with the words, I believe. I mean, what does coach say when he gets on the stage? I believe everybody in life needs a coach. Now, I think you would be hard-pressed to argue with him that that's not what he believes. Now, because he started with, I believe everybody in life needs a coach, I don't think I need one, does he want to pursue me? Heck no. But what if I show interest? I believe I do need a coach. Now he's got somebody he can single out and actually try and sell. You're the owner here. You drive the car. You press the accelerator. You're the one who puts on the brake, not your customer. And you've been taught to start using neat words, neat phrases, and just see, do I get a body reaction? Oh, come on. Stop that. No more. You're going to own your conversation. You're going to memorize it for the privilege of watching the response. Because here's what happens. Watch the body language. When somebody was not prepared at a cocktail party, someone will walk up and say, what do you do for a living? And the scared to death person will do this. Their eyes will drop to the floor or they'll drop to the ceiling, because what I'm trying to do is subconsciously think about what I should say next. And here's what the person who asked you the question is thinking. Are you that unprepared that you don't even know how to answer that question? I'm not interested. They've already formed an opinion that you are not worthy of listening to the words that you're trying to conjure up to say. So here's when somebody, this is just perfect, when that guy in the first class says, what do you do? I looked at him right in the eyeballs, pointed my finger at him. I said, I teach people just like you how to accumulate as much money as you want off the radar screen of the IRS for income tax purposes. What? Now I own the conversation. Should I continue? Should I change it? Should I change the subject? Should I proceed? Should I share with him more? It's an hour and 10-minute flight. Should I engage? He's obviously not jumping out the window or going out the door. I've got a closed environment. No, I'm going to tease him more. And the more I can tease him about the problem that he has doing what he's already doing, the more he's going to beg for the solution. He's going to want to do business with me. Every single one of you solve problems. You've never had the task of solving or identifying what those problems are. When you start identifying the problems that are associated with the transactions that you enter into every single day, and you can show how, because you have either an inside information or have a unique value proposition about doing what you do, that's what I'm going to be interested in. Because if you say, I'm a realtor, okay. I sell insurance, okay. Really? How does that work for you? It doesn't. Because I look like, talk like, drive like, sound like every other financial guy. How can you be unique in a commoditized industry? What could you possibly do that's different? A lot. A lot. I've been doing this for 41 years, and most of my career I have spent trying to figure out how can I be unique. I don't want to look like, sound like, be like every other financial advisor. What can I do that's going to be unique? And I have created this strategy to show people what they're already doing with their money is the direct opposite of what they believe, because nobody in the world is required by law to even understand that. We focus on that. We show this is where you are and this is the effect that you're going to have. Were you aware of that? And the answer we get, no, I wasn't aware of that. Well, now that you are, here's an alternative and here's the result. Which one do you want? So every single one of you know that if we were to do this, if we were to hire somebody who is in the same line of work that you are, there's problems that they're going to encounter. If you could share with me the fact, I know I'm going down this rabbit hole and I hate certain stuff that we're going to do, and if you know that going in and you could start talking about how you will make that go away, I'm interested. And the sooner you can engage in that type of conversation, the sooner you own the conversation, and the sooner you can watch my body reaction to see if I believe what you believe. And I'll go back to what Simon Sinek said. Your job as a salesman is not to find people who need to buy what you sell. Your job is to find people who believe what you believe. And then there's no selling involved at all. The problem we all have, what do we believe? And the problem we all have is that we are molded by some other entity as to what we should look like, sound like, and be like. And I'm arguing with you. I am giving you, for the first time in your adult life, permission to be unique. Stop sounding like everybody else. And the sooner you can become unique, you become a person of interest. And then my definition of a person of interest is to become scarce. Let people come to you. It takes a long time to get that way, people. You can't get scarce when you first start off. You can have something called a mortgage payment. It's a bitch. You have car payments due. I get that. But when you start to really understand the effect that starting with why will have in your life, you could stop being commission-breathed. You will make more revenue than you ever thought possible. That will then go away. Your concern about money is going to go away. And now you can do exactly what you want to do. Focus on becoming unique. Focusing on becoming a person of interest. First time I met Coach, I said this. I said, you're going to make $1 million on that dumb little book, The Toilet Read, Person of Interest. He's sitting in the back of the room right now. If you truly look at the words that are in that book, if you can internalize them so that you truly walk away with the fact you become the owner of the transaction and you do not have to give away your services. There's actually value in what you do. You don't act like it. You sure as heck don't talk like it. And I'll fog them. My dad used to say, son, if they can fog a mirror, they're a potential client. Well, with all due respect, Dad, if they fog a mirror and believe what I believe, they're a wonderful client. But just because they can afford what it is that I'm offering does not want me to be their rep. We have to go a lot deeper than that. So you got some homework. You have to figure out why you do this. What do you believe? The passion points that you have, what are they? Could you lead a conversation with those passion points? Could you build a conversation around passion? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And the more involved I get in your conversation, the more you have the privilege to brag about your success. But trust me, if I'm not interested and you read my body language wrong and you lead with your success, I'm not interested. You're bragging. But if you're using it to support a story that I'm engaging in, I want to hear of your successes. Here's something most people don't realize. Every client you have wants to see you succeed. None of them want to hire a new one of those that you do. I already like you. So we're going to talk about the 3 types of scenarios when you give your EOS. And all 3 are unique. All 3 have a different objective. The most complicated one to do is a referral setting. And I will argue it's the one who will give you the most money, the quickest, but it's also the one that you could screw up the easiest. So let's go through the formal setting. Now, have I had a conversation with anybody in this room before they got here about what I'm about to do? Do this. No? Okay. I want you to watch because this is human nature and this is just typical body language. I want you to ask me, what do I do for a living? Okay, did I ask her to extend her hand? You did though, didn't you?
Well, you extended your
Exactly, that's my point. In the United States, in order for you not to do this, you must have a definitive reason to despise me, hate my guts as a matter of fact. Even if you don't know me, you're still going to extend your hand. This is common courtesy. I sell life insurance, and the gentleman that I learned this from walks away. Now, I'm going to set the stage up. He's at a cocktail party. Now, his name was Ray. Ray had 5 boys in college at the same time. Pretty successful guy. Wore a navy blue pinstripe suit, white shirt, navy blue rep tie. Now he had 30 suits, 50 shirts, and 30 ties, but they were all the same. That was his uniform. So he's at a cocktail party. Somebody asked him, what do you do? He extends his hand. He says, I sell life insurance. And he walks away. He says, excuse me, I'm going to go get a drink. Now, here's what you're going to do. You're going to ask her, who's this Tom Love guy? And here's what Ray's doing. Who invited her? How much does she make? Where does she live? How many children does she have? Is she married, happily married? So here's what happens. In a formal setting, I'm not going to give away the prize. I'm going to allow you to ask everybody else in the room about me. I am then going to, in turn, go ask everybody in the room about you. Now, here's the neat thing. 90% of the people in that cocktail party were already Ray's client. Ray didn't have to prove anything. So the response that you got when asking, well, who's Ray? Do you ever buy any financial product? You don't use Ray? You're missing the boat. So in a formal setting, you give the statement of fact only, and you may or may not want to eloquently continue the conversation. I will argue, I don't know who you are, I don't know if you're a felon, I don't know if you kick kids, so I'm not going to tell you everything because I don't know if I want you as a client. 90 times out of 100, he said, I was always sought out by that person before the cocktail party was over saying, I need to talk to you. I've heard nothing but good things about you. I need to talk to you. In that scenario, in a formal setting, you allow other people to talk about you without you being present. This is where Coach is right now. There are so many people in the group that are talking about Coach. Coach doesn't have to go out and do as much recruiting as he did before. How do you think all those people get into that mogul group, tycoon group, monster group? It's not because he's asking. It's because people see the benefit of doing that, and it's being shared. So we can talk about him without him being in the room. Okay? That's a great setting to determine, man, is this person even worthy of continuing the conversation? Now, there's something called a social setting. Same cocktail party, for example. The mayor has been invited to the cocktail party. You don't know the mayor doesn't know you. He's got a glass of wine. He's walking up to you. You have a glass of wine. There's no windows to jump out of, doors to run through. You have an opportunity now here to engage in conversation. He asks you, what do you do for a living? Here, you better be on. You have one opportunity to have a positive first impression in this person. You must engage and watch his body language. You must share stories that you're positive about it. If you see a positive reaction, you have permission to keep going. And here's where you want to talk about everything successfully that you've done for others. If you start conversations about, yeah, I made $1 million last year, and that's the reason why you want to talk to me so you can make 2, not interested. Not interested. And it's not a dollar amount, it's just money. Money is not a motivator. It really isn't. Not when you talk about explanation of services. And I will challenge you, you'll make more money if you have an explanation of services, because you're no longer wondering whether this person is going to be interested in me 6 months into the conversation. I'm going to know within 15 seconds. Now, in a social setting, you go through the whole thing, an example of what you've done, and then if the body language is still present where there's interest, you're going to go for the juggler. If I could do the same thing for you, would you like to do business? Sure. How many people don't even ask that? It blows me away. You know, Simon Sinek came out with this book, Start With Why, came out with this 18-minute video 10 years ago, Start With Why, 9 years ago. It's been a huge movement. He's not the first one to come up with Start With Why. There are plenty other people that have diagnosed how why is more important than what. But I guess it's the way that he talks. And he realized half the people who watch the video Start With Why don't have one. Don't have a why. I'd love to begin with a why. I don't have a why. So he came out in September of last year with a new book called Find Your Why. And for $100 you can go online and he can help you find a why. It's a fascinating endeavor. You will go back to your childhood. We did this in January of last year, not this year. So it'll be 2 years from, no, it was this January, where we broke off in pairs. And I paired up with people who did not know each other. Because if you know somebody and you go through that book, Find Your Why, the person, if he knows you really well, they're going to answer the question. They're going to say, no, what you really meant to say was this. You can't do that. You have to be an independent person who is asking 10 questions And this is one question that I remember from the book. At what point in your life did you realize tomorrow was going to be different than all you have experienced up to this point in life? What one event happened that you now, is it the day you turned 18? Is it the day you turned 21? Is it the first kiss? Is it the first boyfriend, first girlfriend? What event happened so that you knew the rest of your life was never going to be the same? And here's what's going to happen. We had grown men crying. You will do a lot of soul searching in this. So when I read his book, I thought, crud, he has the answer to the explanation of services. And I was very pleased to discover he doesn't. What he talks about is your statement of fact. What he talks about is leading with what you believe. I've taken it one step further, and I've made that belief statement now an action statement. You must do something with this information. If I know for a fact I can put you in a position that when retirement happens, you are not filing a tax return, and I know that, don't you think it's in my best interest to share this with everybody who's serious about paying taxes? See, but my job is not to convince everybody to not pay the tax. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is this is what I believe. And I'll share with you my belief statement because Simon has a very unique way. I want to, so the I want to part is all about me and the impact I want to have on life. And the so that part is the benefit for others. Articulate, singular, and for the benefit of somebody else. So here is my why. I want to teach every United States tax-paying citizen the difference between how wealth works and simply math, so that if they simply understood what it is that I know, they too could have the privilege of not filing a tax return in retirement. Notice I didn't say, I want the whole world to stop filing a tax return and I want everybody in the country to follow what I said. It's not what I said. I want to teach everybody how wealth works so they can find a decision on their own whether they want to do business or not. And I believe that's how you become a person of interest. If I can help you get to where you already want to go, I'm automatically a person of interest. But here's the problem in my line of work. People don't have an idea that there's a problem. Financial advisors don't understand it. Wall Street doesn't want you to understand it. The banks don't want you to know how it works. And the government does not want you to know how you're going to be decimated in retirement. Nobody's required to know this. This is why the first sentence in our mission statement, in everything we do, we believe in challenging conventional wisdom with regard to traditional wealth. Because most people focus on the accumulation, we focus on the distribution. And if we don't understand the distribution, we're accumulating wealth in the wrong spot. But because nobody's required to understand the effect that we're already doing, they don't even understand they're in a problem. You've got to go through your life and figure out the problems that you're solving. They might be little. They might be huge. Do not prejudge whether they're going to be important to me or not. You have no idea how much money I make. You have no idea what value of time I put on an hour. So if you're out here talking about how to put a smile on my face because I can buy real estate, that's not my trigger. So this is why when you go home, you put passion points together that are as minute as you possibly could think, or as big as you possibly could think. But the point is, you must be able to define everything you're writing down as a passion point. Being able to talk with somebody with a smile on your face and with passion. And if you do, you have an opportunity to gauge my reaction then and continue a conversation. So in a social setting, I go over all three. Because I will ask for the close. I will ask for a commitment. Elevator pitch, you want a card? Yeah, I'll take a card. They don't even put it in your wallet. As soon as you're around the corner, where's the trash? I don't want that. I want to look them in the eyeballs and say, if I could do this for you and you can be where you want to be, do you want to be there? No. I'm not giving you a card. I don't use a card anymore. Now we got 15 minutes. Here's the most difficult to do, the one that's going to take the most homework, the most preparation, but I will argue it's also the one that's going to provide you the most revenue. It's called the referral setting. How many people in the class here and on the interweb have clients already? Okay. You want clients like the ones you have, or do you want a new set of clients? First question you should be asking yourself, but we don't. Do you like the ones you have, or would you like to upgrade? Well, here's the first problem. You need to write down what you want. This will be the first time someone's going to ask you to do this. Because if everybody in the world is going to be buying houses, everybody in the world can become a client. If everybody wants to do marketing, everybody in the world, no. What do you want? Define your ideal client. 1 eye, 1 leg, licensed to sell drugs, and lives east of the Mississippi. I want a 1-eyed, 1-legged pharmacist who sells drugs on the East Coast. And if I could go around the country and I could eloquently enough explain what I want, guess what you're going to have in 36 months? Every client you have is going to see out of 1 eye, and they're going to be hopping around a sterile environment, dispensing drugs that live on the East Coast. But here's the problem. Since we don't know what we want, we will settle for anything. And it's that time that we get the phone call at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. We look at the caller ID and we go, oh crap, it's you. And the only reason you have this person who is calling you at 4 o'clock on Friday is because you took them. You took them. In the courting process, you should have recognized there was a point in your time you shouldn't have signed this person up. But because you're in a contest, you had a mortgage payment due, I get it, I had all of the reasons myself, you took them as a client. So the first thing you have to do, and before you do a referral setting, is you must definitively be able to describe what you're looking for. Second thing, you ever heard of Pareto principle, 80-20? 80% of your time is people providing you 20% of your revenue. They're just time consumption people. And 20% of your time is spent with the people that are providing you 80% of your revenue. So here, you make a conscious decision to acknowledge and identify those people who are providing you the 80% of your income. Those are the people you're going to go back to with this: a yellow pad, a pen, and nothing else. No application, no website, no email list, a blank yellow pad and a pen. And you're going to begin your conversation with the following couple words: I'm sorry. Now, for all the alpha people in the group, I'm not going to admit to wrong. I don't ever do nothing wrong. I'm always right, and hell no, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, you are. You've screwed up. Your clients know you simply based on the last transaction you've engaged. Now, everybody in this room knows that the last transaction is just one simple part of what it is that you do. But that's how the client knows you, just on the last transaction. I'll give you an example. I'm out visiting a client, 6 months. I look at his desk. He's got a State Farm policy issued 6 months prior to our meeting. And I said, you just bought that? And he goes, yeah. And at the time, I was working with John Hancock. Ever heard of them? They sell life insurance. I said, you just bought that? And he goes, yeah. Why? Do you sell life insurance? Yes. I didn't know that because the last thing we did was simply an IRA. I thought all you did was IRAs. See, that's my fault, people. That's not his. That's my fault. And by the way, I have a mission statement on the wall that I haven't even read, much less be able to recite, and he should have read that and know that I sell insurance. No, it's your fault. You screwed up. You're going to start off with words, I'm sorry. And here's why I'm sorry. I call this the rearview mirror syndrome. When you got driver's ed, you got your driver's license, and you took the driver's ed classes, you were told by your instructor to look at the rearview mirror how often? Every 6 seconds. I've driven from Michigan to here, looked in the rearview mirror twice, and that's because I thought I saw a siren. We sell this way. We ignore the sales we have, looking through the windshield, trying to find the next one. So here's what I want you to do. Slam the brakes on, get the hell off the road, turn your seat around, and reintroduce yourself to the people who already know you, like you, trust you, write you checks, and could refer you if you simply knew what you did. Show of hands, how many people find it difficult to get a referral? And don't lie to me. Here's why you have difficulty getting a referral. You can't definitively explain what you do. Why should somebody else try and do your job for you? Who in the room has an advocate? Let me explain what an advocate is. Someone who will talk on your behalf, promote you 7 days a week, 365 days a year, unsolicited by you. And I can tell when you have one, you're standing next to your advocate, your secret advocate, because you don't know he's real, and someone walks up to you and says, "What do you do?" And they start answering. And then they go so in depth, they start talking about things you can't do, and you're going, "Wait a minute, John, I appreciate that, but I don't do all of that." He says, "But yeah, if you could, you would." That's an advocate. And it's amazing, when I go around the country and I ask how many people have one, they all raise their hand and they're all grateful they have them. And I finish with, "How'd you get them?" And they go, "Don't have a clue." You're sitting on a gold mine and don't know how you got them? No. Glad I got them. I must have drove the nice car that day. I must have had my brown shoes on that day. Let me explain why you have an advocate. Your advocate understands your why better than you do. You're not even able to explain why you do what you do, but they sure as heck can. They know all about you. They know your goals, they know your vision, they know your direction, but you don't. And they're out here promoting you when you don't even know what the heck you do. So you begin the conversation with, "I'm sorry. Unfortunately, I'm spending 80% of my time on people who are wasting my life, only providing 20% of my income. And unfortunately, I'd like to reverse that. I'd like to spend 80% of my time with you and forget these people that are consuming my time. But I need your help." Most powerful words in selling. I need your help. "Sure, Tom, how can I help you?" "This is who I'm looking for. One eye, one leg, drug dispenser, East Coast." And they'll look at you for the first time in your relationship. They'll go, "Is that really all you want? I know 30 people like that. Really, that's what you're looking for?" The next book I want to write is How to Turn a Client into an Advocate. It's easier than you think. The problem begins and ends with the fact you don't know why you do what you do, and the advocates are out there trying to figure it out why you do what you do, putting into their mind and their words what you do, trying to help you when you don't even have the right to earn their respect. You begin the conversation with, "I'm sorry." And for the first time in your relationship, that person will look at you and go, "I can help you. I now understand what you're doing, why you do it, how you do it, and everything that you can do. I've got many people that would be welcome for your services." Wouldn't we all like to prospect that way? Have the phone ring where people want to do business with you rather than trying to find a way to find them? This is how you do it. It also takes the most homework, because if you are not prepared and do not know how to ask the question about what it is that you're looking for, you can actually harm your relationship more than you can help it. All right, I've been speaking for an hour and 20 minutes. This is your meeting. Any questions? How many people feel they're now better apt to finish the conversation starter with, "What do you do for a living?" How many people realize they have a lot of homework to do to be able to get an explanation of services? Okay? I'm going to leave you with this. You are truly the buyer in the relationship. Act like it. Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Michael, good morning.